Today you will get familiar with the various steps which are involved in performing DNA cloning in a laboratory setup. You will also see that how a gene of interest is inserted in a vector, then it is selected based on the presence of an antibiotic gene. So, let us start the lab demonstration session now.
Hello everybody. Today we are going to discuss about the workflow of molecular cloning. Molecular cloning has some basic steps which we are going to go one by one. So firstly, what we are trying to do is introduce a foreign gene into an organism, which we normally refer to as insert. So this is my insert sample. So what we do is we take our insert DNA, we introduce it into a carrier molecule normally known as vector. So most commonly used vectors include plasmids. So in this case we are using a plasmid DNA in which we are going to introduce a foreign gene, our insert. So there are, as you may know, plasmids they occur naturally in bacteria, and over the years studies have been done and we have seen that these plasmids also have some antibiotic resistance gene. So which confers a resistance against a particular antibiotic to the bacteria. So if a bacteria is grown under that antibiotic conditions, its growth will not be affected and it will grow perfectly normal. So here we have a vector DNA, we have our insert. So in order to introduce my insert into the vector, so let's begin with the experiment. We have taken our vector DNA, also we have our insert DNA. What we are going to do is, we are going to treat them with restriction enzymes. Restriction enzymes are going to cut these DNA and they will create compatible ends, so that the insert and the vector they can join and form a perfectly circular structure. So we are going to carry out restriction digestion separately for insert and vector. So what we need to do is, first we take our vector, then we add the restriction enzyme buffer, which is needed by the enzyme to carry out the digestion. We also add water to make up the volume. And the last step, we add the enzyme. So enzyme usually is added in a very small quantity. So I'll use a different pipette for that. So in this case we are using EcoR1 enzyme. So throughout the process we need to make sure that it's carried out using aseptic conditions. So the tips should be autoclaved, the tubes also should be sterile. At the same time, we should carry out the entire reaction on ice. So right now, I have made the cocktail, restriction digestion cocktail for the vector. I am going to do the same thing for the insert, and then we will keep the tubes at 37 degree, which is the optimum temperature for the enzymes to act. So right now, I am carrying out restriction digestion for the insert. So this is the insert. I'm going to add the restriction buffer. So I am adding different volumes for each of the components, and accordingly I am adjusting the pipette as well. Now I am adding water. So the last thing is the enzyme. So I am going to vortex the tube so that the components are mixed properly. Then I am going to give them a short spin so that whatever has stuck to the walls will come down. Now we will incubate the tubes at 37 degree for 1 hour. Now we will incubate the tubes at 37 degree. So the incubation will be done for 1 hour. So after restriction digestion has been performed, the next step is ligation of the two DNAs. So we have our vector DNA as well as the insert DNA, which has been cleaved by the restriction enzyme. So now we'll join the two compatible ends using the ligase enzyme. So here we have all the components of the reaction. First we'll take our DNA, vector DNA. Then we will add the insert. So once we have added vector as well as insert, we will add ligation buffer. So before adding anything, so we just need to pipette it a little, we need to mix it a little bit. So this is the ligation buffer. I'll give it a small vortex. I will add this to the ligation mix. Now the last thing to be added is the ligase enzyme. Again we are using a small pipette because we require very little quantity of the enzyme. I'll give it a short vortex again to the enzyme. Now our ligation mix is ready. We will vortex it a little. Followed by a short spin. Now we will incubate this at room temperature for 3 hours. After ligation is done, the next step is transformation. So after ligation, the vector and the insert, they form a covalently closed structure, and this DNA molecule, the combined DNA molecule, we introduce into a host cell. So in this case, we have taken DH5 alpha host cell, which does not have any restriction enzyme which will chop off any foreign DNA. So we will introduce our DNA into this host cell so that it can propagate further. So this step transformation is carried out inside a laminar hood under sterile conditions. So inside the hood we have sterile filters which keep the inside air clean. So before we start with the experiment, first we switch on the UV for 10 minutes. This step ensures that inside the conditions are extremely sterile. This step ensures that inside the laminar hood conditions are extremely sterile and are good for our work. So after this, we'll switch off the UV and we'll switch on the fan and the light button. Now we'll carry out the transformation experiment. So we have our ligated sample. We'll also keep a negative control water. So in all the experiments, we normally keep a negative control. So we have our competent cells, which are the host cells in which we will introduce our recombinant molecule. In one of the tubes, we'll add our recombinant molecule. In the other tube, we'll add a negative control water. This is our ligation mix which we will add in the competent cells. So now we will incubate the tubes on ice for 30 minutes. Now we will give the samples heat shock treatment. So we'll keep the tubes at 42 degrees Celsius for 2 minutes. This heat shock treatment helps the host cell to get the foreign DNA. This heat shock treatment helps the foreign DNA to get introduced inside the host cell. So now we will perform the plating. So as you can see, we already have plates, LB agar plates. These plates, they have a lot of components which will help the bacteria to grow. Additionally, we have added the antibiotic ampicillin because our vector, the plasmid DNA, has ampicillin resistant gene. So that when we will plate our ligated product onto this, only those colonies will show up which have our vector. So for one plate, I will be using the ligated sample which has been transformed into the DH5 alpha host cell. For the other plate, I'll use for the negative control, which has been given the same treatment as our ligated product. So I will take the sample. So I will add the sample in drops. So this is the spreader which I am going to use for plating. So this spreader is already dipped in ethanol so that all the microorganisms, if any, will get killed. So I'll put it to flame so that the alcohol evaporates. I'll wait for the spreader's temperature to get down, because if it is too hot, it may kill my DNA sample as well. I can touch it here so that it becomes cool. Now I'll start plating. So I'll be doing the plating in circular motions so that the sample is spreaded uniformly. I'll do it till a point where I feel that the entire sample is spread uniformly, and when the agar seems to look a little dry and there is some friction, at that point I'll stop. One needs to ensure that we do not press it too hard, else we may end up breaking the agar plate as well. I'll show the lid some flame and I'll keep it back. I'll label my plate. Next, I will plate the negative control sample, which is nothing but water. So normally we keep the plates this way, upside down. Otherwise, if we keep them like this, they sometimes, because of the loose ends, we may end up having some sort of contamination. So usually we keep upside down. Right now I've done plating, so for some time I'll keep it like this, the straight way. Later I'll keep it upside down as well. Now I'll take the negative control sample. Again, I'll add in the form of little drops, spread it uniformly. I'll show my spreader flame. I'll wait for a few seconds for the spreader's temperature to come down. This is how my plate looks like. Now I have started feeling some friction on the plate, so if I poke it further it may break. So at this point I'll stop. Now I'll take my plates and I'll keep them in the incubator. So these are the plates which I'll keep in the incubator for overnight incubation. So as you can see, the temperature ranges from 37 to 38, which is ideal for the bacteria to grow. I can show you another plate which we have already done transformation yesterday and how a transformed plate looks like. So this is a transformed plate which has a lot of colonies inside. So in this case the transformation efficiency has been very good. In some cases we do not get as many colonies. So right now we have kept two plates. In one we hope that we have a good transformation efficiency, and in the second plate we should expect it to be blank because that is just water, to ensure that our experiments are absolutely fine and there is no contamination. So once we obtain the colonies, we need to be sure whether these colonies reflect our true recombinant molecule. Because as you know, once we have done restriction digestion, we can get different kinds of products. It may happen that during ligation, the vector itself ligates and have a self-ligated molecule. Or it may happen that there is only the insert that has transformed into the host cell. So we need to be sure whether these colonies actually have the recombinant molecule. So one thing we are sure that there is no insert here, because the vector has antibiotic resistance gene, and here in the media we have our antibiotic ampicillin. So only those colonies which have the vector will grow on these. Now those colonies can be the self-ligated vector or they can be the recombinant molecule having the insert. For that we'll take these colonies. We'll grow them, we'll isolate the plasmid and we'll check their size. So this is an LB media. This is the same media which has been, which is already, in the solidified form in this agar plate. So this LB media has all the components which is required by the bacteria to grow. So we'll pick up a colony, we'll add it in this LB media. We'll also add our antibiotic, the antibiotic for which the resistant gene is already present on the vector, so that only our vector grows, no other contamination is seen. So we will first add the antibiotic. This is our antibiotic ampicillin. Everything we are doing near the flame so that there is no contamination, there is no chance of any contamination. Now I will pick up a colony. This again we will incubate at 37 for overnight, almost 16 hours. So this is the shaking incubator in which I'll keep this tube for overnight incubation. So you can see the temperature set is 37, which is ideal for the bacterial growth. So this is how a bacteria culture looks like. You can see it is very turbid, and after this is a sign that the bacteria has grown properly overnight. So this is a tube which we have just kept for the overnight incubation. You can see the color of this tube. It's not so turbid, it is transparent, but after the growth this is how it looks like.
Today I will be taking you through the PCR process, and we will try to learn how the process occurs in real time. So basically, what is PCR? PCR is, as its name suggests, it is polymerase chain reaction. In this method, in this technique, what we see is we have a very small quantity of DNA or any sample. In this process, the sample gets amplified to 1,000,000 times, so that sometimes when you are working in a clinical field research, or there is a crime scene where you have very less quantity of some sample, you want to do some research with it, or you have to give some identification, then you cannot do with such small quantity of things. So for that we do PCR. So this is the machine called thermocycler which we use for PCR. As you can see, these are the well plates where we put our PCR tubes and run our PCR. Here we will be putting our PCR product which my colleague has given us, and we will be checking its result. So before starting the procedure, I will let you know the basic components of PCR which we need. So first of all, this is reaction buffer. This reaction buffer we need. It will give proper optimum environment for our enzyme to work. This is our enzyme, Taq DNA polymerase. These are the two primers for our reaction. This is reverse primer, this is forward primer. We will be adding all these contents to a master mix tube. This is 2 molar DNTP and nuclease free water. And this is the amount of reagents we add in each reaction. This is for 1x reaction, this is for 4x. So now, as we know the components of the PCR and we have added into the master mix, we will be adding it to our PCR tubes. These tubes I have already added 23 microliter of master mix and 2 microliter of our. So now, as we know what does our master mix contain, we have already added it in proper amount. So now we will be adding it to our PCR tubes which I have already added. We have already made our master mix. So from this master mix we will be adding 23 microliter of our master mix to our PCR tubes. In these tubes we already have added 2 microliter of our DNA which we want to do PCR. Now we will be putting our tubes into the PCR machine. Before putting the tubes in PCR machine, make sure you give it a spin. So we will be spinning our tube so that to ensure that our contents are properly mixed. So now once our tubes are ready, so now as you can see our machine is on. This is a thermocycler. So in this thermocycler we will be adding our tubes in this way. And we'll be closing it. Make sure you have tightened the cap. Now as you can see here, we can see many options: run, new, edit, view, files and tool. I have already set the program which is GAPDH because we are going to check here for GAPDH gene. So here a sample volume is 25, enter, view the program. This is the program we will be using. As you can see, you are able to read multiple temperatures here and number of steps. So the first step is initialization. In initialization, the enzyme will be activated for further denaturation. Second step is 94 degree for 30 seconds. In this step, denaturation of our DNA will occur. In denaturation, both the strands will separate out. In the third step, it is 58 degree for 30 seconds. Now this is the annealing step where the primers are going to anneal. When primers will anneal, the process will go on further. Next is 72 degree for 30 seconds. That is the extension step. So in extension, once the synthesis, so in this extension step, it is for 30 seconds. In extension step, what will occur, that synthesis will go on again and again, and once your product is formed, another product will be taken as template and new product will be formed. And then we will be repeating this cycle for 35 times, as you can see here. 35 times go to 2. So these 3 steps will be repeated, we will be getting multiple copies. Next is again 72 degree for 10 minutes. So for final extension, if any product is left for extension, it will be occurring again. And last is hold at 4 degree. Why are we holding? To bring down the temperature to normal, for cooling of the chamber. So now as we know the program, we will be running our PCR program. So as you can see, now it has started, and here we can see how the steps are going. So it will take this much of time to complete our program. So now we will run the program. Run. Now we can see our PCR has started, and it will take this much of time to complete. So now as you can see, our gel has solidified, and we will be putting it in our running unit. As you can see, it has properly solidified. So now we will be taking out our combs and putting our gel in the unit. This is 1x TAE, and we have to add it in such a way that our whole gel is immersed in it. Okay. So now we will be adding our DNA to the loading die which I have spotted here. This is 1x loading die. To it we will be adding our PCR product, which will be taking as 8 microliter, and after adding it, by pipetting we will be mixing it properly. And we will be loading it on our gel. So now to check whether the PCR products are of our desired one or not, we will check it by loading a DNA ladder into it. The size of gap TH here is 595 base pair. So we have loaded 100 base pair ladder, and the loading die we used is this one. So the ladder we have used here is 100 base pair DNA ladder, because the product size is 595 base pair. Now we will be running our gel. Make sure that you make the connections properly. And now we will be setting up our voltage is, we will be keeping 100 volts, as you can see. For 1 hour and press run. So as you can see here, bubbles will start coming out. So the gel has started running. So now we will be doing agar-agar gel electrophoresis to check whether our PCR product has come or not. And so for that we will be making our gel. First of all, we will be making 2% gel. We have weighed 2 grams of agarose powder and we will be adding it to TA buffer. So now we will add 2 grams of agarose to our flask, and we will also add 100 ml of TA buffer. So now we will be dissolving the agarose powder using microwave. So for 2 minutes we will be putting it inside, and in between we will be stirring it. So now a gel is done and we will be pouring it on our gel casting unit. Now as our gel has cooled, we will be adding ETBR in the ratio of 0.5 microgram per ml. Why we are adding ETBR? We are adding ETBR so that the dye will intercalate with our DNL sample and give fluorescence when observed under the transilluminator. Always take care that you discard the tubes of ETBR in biohazard, as it is a potent mutagen. Now we will pour our gel. So as you can see, these are the types of casting units we can have. This is the bigger one in which I have already casted a gel. This is the smaller one which we casted right now. When we placing a comb, this is the comb of its size in this before the gel solidifies. These are the different types of combs and casting units available. So this is the electrophoretic unit in which we will be placing our gel after it solidifies for the run, and this is the voltage unit.